Mike, 7 minutes total.
Okay.
Hello, James. How are you?
Amazing.
All right, so I will start.
Well, take it away, brother.
Okay, so I'm curious. 3 seasons. For 2, you were waiting to be brought out from the bench. When it happened, how did you feel, and what was your approach?
Just give it everything. What was my approach? Just call the books, read the books, tell the story, be the guy that he promised to be in the first season. He walks off at the end of season 1 into a different world, blasting a hole in the sky, trying to woo Mrs. Coulter, telling her that you and I were going to bring down the authority, we're going to declare war on the heavens itself. You've got to come in with that big energy in season 3 and actually bring the war. You've got to bring the thunder. You've got to blast open the skies, and you've got to have a lot of self-belief. The biggest thing about Asriel is his belief that he is right, his belief in himself to be able to free the collective spirits of all conscious beings from the tyranny of oppression represented by abusive institutions, and all of that makes him just feel like I'm right, and whatever I need to do, I'm going to kill my daughter's kid friend, the little boy she grew up playing with. If I need to kill him to get this done, I'm going to do it. I'm going to walk over this person, I'm going to blast open that, I'm going to blow up this world. I don't care what I've got to do what is ultimately going to be right for us all. Ultimately be better for everyone. But we know it's not like that. We know that the journey has to be as full of integrity as your destination. The ends don't always get justified by the means, but he has to learn that lesson over the course of season 3, and he has to learn that by being challenged by Lyra, by her very existence, by the fact that he ain't Spartacus, she's Spartacus, and that massive blow to his ego that represents, you know.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, James. And it's quite interesting that you mention the books, because in the books we don't see much of Asriel's leadership as we do in the beginning of season 3, and the process that he undertakes to form this army fighting in favor of the Republic of Heaven. And given the range of roles that you have played, taking inspiration from, iconic roles such as the Conspirator, for example, Cyrano de Bergerac.
She got deep there.
She was the person that saw it in the movie theater.
and my mother. Now, how did you help craft this storyline, given that we didn't see it in the books? And, is the storyline related to the scrapped Asriel-focused episode from season 2?
It's not. The scrapped Asriel storyline from season 2 focused on what happened literally the minute after he steps into that other world at the end of season 1. He ends up in Cittàgazze, and you see Cittàgazze before the Spectres come in force, so there's still adults there, they're just living their lives, and he's there during the evacuation. He's instrumental in the evacuation of Cittàgazze. That was the story that we were going for with that. Maybe it'll be a spin-off movie one day. Don't know. I'll be too old to play the part. But it's just not that. That isn't part of what we do in season 3. The stuff that we added into season 3 was really about showing the formation of his forces and showing what he did to actually accumulate this vast coalition of not only people but species, that are all united by their suffering of oppression and abuse at the hand of the authority and their its oppressive institutions. And so it was about showing that and articulating during that why we should be fighting, how we should be fighting, and laying the stakes, or showing the audience at the same time what the stakes are going to be by the time we get to the end of season 2. So that was difficult, because there's not a lot in the books of what Asriel and Coulter also are doing. They're alluded to a lot of the time without being illustrated a lot of the time. And we had carte blanche from Philip to go fill it in, but it was tricky because you start going off in different directions and suddenly it doesn't feel like Asriel sometimes. Asriel is a one-track guy. He's like a locomotive just powering towards his final destination, and nothing's going to stop him getting in the way. And sometimes when we have so much freedom to go, like, we can invent this, we can invent that, and suddenly it feels like we were just going down little avenues that made him feel not like Asriel. So we ultimately kept coming back to this drive, this focus, this determination, this almost maniacal one-way mentality that gets challenged by Coulter and also gets challenged by Lyra.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you have any like headcanons of what Asriel was up to, since we don't get to see it?
Do I get any what?
Headcanons. Like, what do you think? Like, what would you think that he'd been up to that's not necessarily in the script or on the page?
We build up to the sort of battle. We build up to the fight. We build up to the war in season 3. I think the war has been raging, and that's what I think would have been happening. So you can't spend every episode like having a war scene, you know. I think the war has been raging. He's hanging on. He thinks he's right. He thinks he's going to bust open the skies and free the collective peoples of the multiverse. But it's not happening. He's stuck in the mire. He's stuck in a war of attrition with the heavens. And he doesn't quite understand why. And so he thinks he's just got to try harder. He's got to find something. He's got to dig deeper. He's got to sacrifice more. He's got to bring more of himself. And it's not until really he realizes that he's not the guy. This isn't about him. This is about, and always has been, about his little girl. And that really all he has to do is be a dad and help her be the guy.
James, what is your favorite thing about season 3, and what would you say is the most challenging thing for you?
Most challenging thing was figuring out what he does, because it's not written, and the books are so great. You don't want to take anything away by adding too much, and at the same time you want to be in the show more than the books would let you be in the show. So you want to make sure that what you're adding is adding and not distracting. That was a difficult thing. The thing I loved the most was just showing his journey from being this guy who will sacrifice anyone and anything to achieve what he knows is right, to becoming somebody who will sacrifice himself.
Thank you.
Hi. So I know you've been a fan of the books well before working on this project, and I'm curious what excited you about this project, and what drew you to Philip Pullman's work, that sort of thing.
I was introduced to these books when I was about 21, I think. I was working with a few actors, but I was working with Justice Salinger and Indra Varma, who you'll know from Game of Thrones, and I think she's in the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing at the moment. Amazing actor, and I was trying to get her to read, The Lord of the Rings, and she went, all right, but you, and her and Justice Salinger said, you need to read his Dark Materials, and I was like, and it seems like kind of kids' fantasy, you know what I mean? And I started reading it, I was absolutely blown away. I've read it 3 times since then, and so that's how I was brought into it. And then in terms of the TV show, my neighbour and long-time good friend Callie Crawford, who is the casting director of this, she was talking to me about being the casting director on it, and I was like, never once did she mention me for a part, and I was like, okay, fine. And then about 6 months later, she was like, how do you feel about playing Lord Asriel? And I was like, absolutely, when do I start? She went, how's Monday? And I think somebody had fallen out. And I was like, I'm in, I know what I'm going to do. And I mean, the read-through for that, or the table read for episode 1 of season 1 is my single favourite table read that I've ever been involved in. Because not only was I so excited to be a part of that world, I knew exactly what I was going to do with the character, and I went for it like I was on stage. I really enjoyed it.
Mr. McAvoy, pleasure to see you, brother. One of the greatest things that's happened right now is that the love of my life, my wife, is here with me. You're her favorite actor, and I like that she's super nervous right now. This is really cool. Like this moment here is cool. But I got a question to ask, but I love the boys like this James McAvoy. That's a beautiful thing. But what I love to see in your craft, and she came up with a great question. I totally threw me for a loop, and it's something that we always marvel at when we watch you perform. how hard is it to go in and out of those accents? You know what I mean? Going in and out of those accents when you're a proper Scotsman. You know what I mean? And you don't always get to use that accent. You're doing one and you're doing an American accent. You're doing, and they always make you do like British accents. Like, do you like that challenge, or is it cool to just pull up and be Scottish for once and say, "Aye"?
Yeah, no,
you know
it is.
what I mean?
No, it is. It definitely is cool to pull up in Scottish sometimes, and it's weirdly quite nice to work with other Scottish people. I've never ever thought to myself, "Oh no, I feel like a fish out of water" or whatever. And then a couple of times I've worked on jobs where it's all Scottish people, and you're like, "This is different. We like share something different. We all just, I don't know what it is. It's just nice." But doing accents and things, it's never really something that I think about too much. I don't worry about whether I'm getting the accent too right or not, which some people might recognise in the reviews of me. But it's more about getting the voice of the person right. And even if I'm doing my own accent, even if I'm being Scottish or something, it's not always my voice. So like when I did Cyrano, yes, it was a Scottish character the way I played him anyway, but it wasn't my voice. And so it's more important to get the voice right. And if you get the voice right, I usually feel like the accent takes care of itself.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. Oh, yes.
Cool, right?
Thank you.